Yeah, we win! Ha! Please, come on. I only have one gift that I can offer. What's going on, guys? You're watching The Hungry Handgunner. I'm Nick, and not a Viking, but the review for today is the SIG P320X VTAC, or Viking Tactical. Let's get to it. Alright guys, so yeah, the wannabe makeup is now gone. I do have to caution you, if you go to grab a marker and it is a similar size and profile to a Sharpie, probably verify that it's not a Sharpie before you draw on your face. So that was invigorating. Most folks I know are used to seeing me with bags under the eyes by virtue of working night shift and having 3 kids, so nothing crazy there. But also, apologies for the intro. I wanted to do something a little funny, so I did that, but yeah, I am not an actor. But anyway, I want to give a huge shout out right from the get-go to my buddy Justin for loaning this gun to me. Justin is also one of my patrons over on Patreon and a good buddy of mine from work. He is frequently the source of all sorts of bad influence decisions on my part. He got me into the FN 509 Tactical, he got me into shooting with a red dot, and now he's got me into the X series from Sig Sauer. So thank you, and no thank you all at the same time, Justin. I appreciate it. So we'll go ahead and talk about this X VTAC, P320 X VTAC, or Viking's Tactical, or Viking Tactical, I should say. So there is no magazine inserted, and the gun is clear. I have been blown away by this gun, so much so that it led me to get the P320X Compact, which has a lot of the same features, and we'll compare them on tabletop here in a second. But this one has some really neat things that set it apart. So you have some scalloping, or I should say serrations here on the slide that are going to cut down on glare when you're shooting. You have some lightning cuts here, and you've got some phenomenal sights. If you guys saw the first look video, then you already know about that, but we will cover those more when we get to the table. It is a really cool package, and it's definitely a full-size gun. There's no debating that. The gun does come with 2 17-round mags in the box, but by virtue of just the P320 series being what it is, the 21-round mags that are commonly sold with the M18 and M17 fit in there, no problem. They just stick out a little bit. So you're going to be able to use any of the P320 mags, at least from what I could read, from 17 rounds, which is the flush fitting size for this gun, all the way on up. So the 15 rounders obviously won't work by virtue of being shorter than 17, and I'm from Georgia, but I can do that much math. But other than that, there we go. Now I do have to get out of the way. I did not carry this gun, partly because I don't have a holster with a light that I could, or a holster cut for the gun and the light that I could carry. The other thing is, this is a slightly abbreviated review. I only put about 800 rounds to this gun instead of the full 1,000 that I would normally do as part of the review process. It's not any fault of the gun, it is the fault of the current ammunition market being what it is. I'm having a hard time finding primers to do my reloading, so I'm being a little bit more cautious with ammo. But it did get 800 rounds through it. During that time, I had one malfunction, and that was a light primer strike. Ordinarily, I would chalk that up to my ammo, but that particular day, I was shooting factory ammo. So, one malfunction, light primer strike. And one malfunction there. Maybe a light primer strike. We're going to find out. That's exactly what it was. Also, while I was reviewing this gun, I came across the lawsuit against SIG for these guns obviously not being drop safe as part of it, but the other thing is that they go off on their own. You pull them out of a holster, they go off, or even just sitting in a holster. So I forwarded that link in that video to Justin, and he said, hey man, get out there and test it. Drop the gun, see what happens, beat on it with a hammer. So of the two, dropping a gun just seemed vile, and I couldn't bring myself to do it, especially with somebody else's gun. So I did not drop the gun, but I did take a 27-ounce dead blow hammer, and I'll roll some of that footage in. And I have a total of 3 of these in case the need arises for them. So we are good. There's no safety on the gun. I'm actually going to hold the gun in my left hand so you guys can see that I keep my finger off the trigger. I just know how the internet is, so all right, we'll commence. Obviously I did not have an issue, and I was doing that with a primed case for safety reasons, but if the striker mechanism were to engage without the trigger being pulled from impact, at least at that level, we would have heard the primer go off, and that would have been that. So this isn't a blanket judgment on all SIGs, that is just my experiences with this gun, and I will be doing the same with my X Compact here soon, so if you're interested in seeing that, stay tuned. But overall, I am very impressed with the gun. It is a very nice shooting gun. It is just very ergonomic. The grip itself, you've got a high undercut here under the trigger guard, a nice beaver tail, texturing in all the right spots to me. You got a little bit of a flare down here for the magwell, or where it comes down to the magwell. It engages perfectly with me with my pinky finger. It's great. You do have a beveled magwell inside, which helped with reloading. I had no problem indexing that mag and getting it in there every time. It's just very intuitive. This gun is definitely a very nice trim package, a very nice rendition of the P320 series. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to shoot it just a little bit more. So I'm going to have these two 21 round mags for this loaded up, and we're going to shoot at some steel a little bit. I hate coming out here and not shooting, so that's what we'll do next. Alright guys, we're going to shoot these couple mags. I'm just going to be playing around on the steel a little bit. This gun is just awesome. I love it. And this is seriously how my range time has gone with this gun. It's just fun. These sights are hands down some of my best iron sight, or favorite iron sights I've seen on a handgun. I won't say the best because I'm not the all-knowing authority, but they are some of my favorite iron sights. I gotta put a snap cap in that one. Yes, I had been doing some training exercises, and I had thrown a snap cap in a mag, and I couldn't remember which mag it was. So that answers that question. Now you guys get to see a failure drill in addition to everything else. But this gun is just awesome. Hands down, one of the coolest full-size guns that I've shot this year, even the last couple years. So I definitely, I have really enjoyed my time with it. We'll go back down to the table and we'll look at it close up. There are a couple things I wanted to bring up. So here we are, guys, and it is clear, no mag inserted. We'll go ahead and talk about the sight, since that's one of my favorite features on the gun. And you can see the fiber optics glowing, even on camera. I'm looking at the screen and I can see it. What you may not see right off the bat is the tritium vials underneath the fiber optic. Those are actually pretty decent tritium lamps from what I've seen at night. They've definitely got plenty of illumination to be used in that roll. But the fiber optic, because my shooting has been during the daytime, very easy to acquire, and typically 3-dot sights are not. Typically a blacked out rear and a high contrast front work better for me for shooting quickly, like you'll see on this X compact, I have blacked out rear. I mean, they're 3-dot in the sense that they all have tritium, but the black is rear during daylight, or the rear is blacked out, I should say, during daylight, and you have the green X-ray sight up front. So the fact that these 3-dot setup, this particular one, worked so well for me was kind of a shock, but it did, and I really like these sights, and I'll be actually looking into seeing if they offer them for other firearms. There are a couple that I would love to put these on, including my M&P Shield. So you do have these lightning cuts. Now, I am not going to pretend like I know how much of a difference that makes. Obviously, by simple physics, it would lighten the gun some. It would take some of the weight off. But as far as performance and shooting, I don't know that it makes a difference. For me, I've always been a little bit wary of things getting in there, dust, whatever. And that may be a misplaced concern on my part, and that's fine. But they do look cool for sure. Takedown on the gun, very simple. You're going to bring the slide to the rear, lock it with the slide lock lever, and then pivot this around. No trigger pull necessary, and the slide's going to come right off the frame. You can go ahead and pop out your recoil spring and guide rod assembly. Gun's still a little warm from shooting, and then the barrel will slide out as well. And for basic maintenance, that's about as far as you're going to need to go. Now, as you can see, there is some significant wear. As I've alluded to in other videos, Justin is definitely not one to have safe queens. If he has a gun, chances are he shoots the ever-loving hell out of it. Reassembly, put your barrel in, put your recoil spring guide rod assembly back in place, and go ahead and line it up on the rails. Then, yeah, there we go. Then you'll bring it all the way to the rear, lock it, and pivot that back around, and you're good to go. It's always a little iffy for me taking apart guns on camera because part of me is looking at the screen and part of me is looking at the gun and hoping you guys see it, and also hoping that when I feel resistance I didn't fudge something up. So this grip frame here, for you guys that are unfamiliar, the P320 series, I should have showed you when I had it apart, but the trigger module itself, actually we'll go ahead and take it down again. Super easy to take down. This chassis, this trigger assembly, is the actual firearm. Much like an AR-15 where the lower is the serialized part of the gun, this is the gun as far as the ATF and everything else is concerned, and your serial number is there. So this is a very modular gun in the sense that you can mail order these grip modules that are not serialized, and you just put your trigger chassis in there, and you can go all sorts of directions, caliber conversions, different slides, things like that, with the firearm being considered this trigger assembly. So that is really cool. That is definitely one thing that the P320, with all the controversy and everything else going on with potential inadvertent and just unprompted discharges, that is really one of the things that has done very well. It's a very modular weapon system. It's very easy to make a gun fit you if it doesn't out of the box. But this particular grip module, I have no complaints. You got a very high undercut here, allows you to get a very good high grip on the gun. Beaver tail, if you like beaver tails, you like them. If you don't, you don't. But I happen to be somebody that does. I've had scars from slide bite and things like that from choking up on guns. So beaver tails are always appreciated. You do have a very squared off trigger guard here, which is great for putting lights and things like that on this section of rail. Very useful. Most guns come with rail, so I don't really harp on that a whole lot, but always having this kind of squared off where the light can get pretty snug against it is always a good thing for me. You've got some nice cuts here on the slide. I've always liked those kind of tapered off slides. It gives you just a little bit more peripheral vision when you're aiming down the gun, that I found. Again, not a huge deal, but something I like. The lines of the pistol, this is going to be subjective, I like it. I've always kind of liked these P320s with the beaver tail on them, the X series. They look really good. Forward serrations, again, huge for press checks, malfunction clearance, things like that. So really the only drawback on this gun, and this is actually something Justin pointed out to me as well, is because of the cut of the slide where it ramps up here to the rear sight area. There's really no good way to have this milled for a red dot. So yeah, you could go the dovetail adapter route, I guess, but you're gonna have some overhang, most likely. So if you are set on a dot, maybe the X VTAC version is not for you. There are other X series guns, like my X Compact, which is somewhat optics ready, and I'll go over this one more when I get to the full review on it. But the VTAC version of the X series, get them out here where you can see both, definitely offers some really cool things. Grip modules have a lot of the same features, but then you get into the nice sights, the lightning cuts, the FTE up top. It's a very cool trim package for sure. So with all of that being said, guys, if you are considering the Sig Sauer P320 X VTAC, I can't give you a reason not to get it. Even the light primer strike malfunction that I had could have been from any number of things. I've heard reports quality control is slipping with factory ammo right now because of the demand and how fast they're trying to get this stuff out. I don't know how true that is, but something like that where it literally only happened one time, I'm not really too concerned with. The gun cycled well with a variety of ammunition, everything from factory 115 and 124 all the way on up to hand-loaded 147s. I ran some Spear Gold Dots through it and about 10 Federal HSTs. The gun ate everything, no problem. So reliability on this gun, I have to give it a pass. Ergonomics are going to be, yeah, I can't say enough good things about the ergos on this gun. And if you don't like it the way it is out of the box, but you want this gun still, there's all sorts of grip module changes and things like that you can do. Now, it is not truly ambidextrous out of the box. You can move the mag release over to the other side, but out of the box it comes configured for a right-handed shooter there, but you do have an ambidextrous slide stop slide release. So there's that. Your rear sight, I forgot to mention, this does have a shelf, so if you had to do one-handed manipulations, even with my hand, much less a belt, I can easily rack the slide just with that rear sight. So that's always good to have. It's something that I look for in a handgun, particularly one that I may use in a defensive context. Which brings me to my next point, carrying this gun. Now, Justin actually has a holster that he loaned me with the gun, and the only reason I didn't carry it is I carry with a light, and this one's not cut for a light. But I did do a little bit of drills and stuff out here with it. If you're the type of person that would carry a full-size gun, this is not going to be anything crazy different for you. He's got his retention cranked way down on this holster. I noticed that when I was doing drills too. Yeah, if a full-size gun is something you want to carry, this won't give you any issues. For people that are coming from something perhaps a little bit more compact, it is definitely a longer slide, so depending on where you're carrying, that is going to be something to think about, you know, especially if you're carrying appendix. Certain parts of anatomy may get in the way, but you can work around that. I carry a full-size gun. I can appendix carry an M9A3. It's all going to come down the holster and your clothing and your body type, but it is definitely a full-size gun, so just know that going in. Mag capacity 17+1 with standard mags. You can get the 21 rounders for backup, or hell, even carry with them if you wanted to. I think that's respectable. My taste for carry is normally 15 and up, so 17 is cool. Doesn't bother me. It's kind of like the industry standard for full-size guns. You know, the Glock 17 holds 17+1. The 509 Tactical 17+1. The regular M9 or regular 92 is 15+1, but the new mags they're out with are 17 rounders, so about par for the course there. Beveled magwell, very nice feature, very easy to reload this gun. So yes, I have really enjoyed my time with this gun. It will be going back to Justin though, because, well, I'll probably get killed if I buy another gun right now. I don't know that he's selling it. He's actually borrowing my CZP09 in the meantime too, so a little lost swapping and stuff going on. But yeah, so that's going to be it, guys. I really appreciate you watching the review. If you're interested in becoming a patron for the channel, there will be a link in the description for my Patreon. You're under no obligation to do so, but it's there if you would like to. So as always, stay safe, keep shooting, and if you have experience with the SIG P320, drop it in the comments, especially if it's the X series or even the X VTAC. Let folks hear from more than just me. The internet being what it is, let them hear from other people as well. So stay safe, guys. I'll catch you next time.